Hello and welcome to this very special Nuremberg Messe podcast. I'm your host, Shunakshi Chakravarti, and today we have an industry expert and an industry leader, Mr. Gaurav Manchanda, the founder and director of the Organic World, here in the lovely city of Bengaluru, who will be speaking about all things organic. As we all know, it's not just important to make these choices in our life in today's day and age, but it's also very important to ensure that one is responsible and sustainable in their own ways. Gaurav Manchanda is somebody who's not just a retailer, but a responsible retailer, as I'd like to call him. Gaurav, thank you so much for giving us this time and for agreeing to do this podcast to talk about all things organic. Your first thoughts.
Firstly, thank you, Sonakshi, for having me on this platform. And this is a wonderful podcast, and I'm so glad to be part of it.
Thank you, Gaurav. You are somebody who has been in this space since 2017. The organic world started off in 2017, and let's dive right in.
Sure.
Tell us about the story, the journey of the organic world, and why did you feel the need to start something like
Sure.
this?
I could step back a couple of years, back to 2016. I was actually in the States at that point, and I was doing my master's before. And during my time in the US, in Boston, and especially New York, I was actually spoiled for choice when it came to food items, healthy food items, and it was a way of life for me as well. I certainly wanted to eat healthy, so just the variety of choices there was something that really struck me. And as I followed my way back to Bangalore, I wanted to keep up with the same healthy lifestyle. And just looking at the variety of options in Bangalore, I felt there was some work that needed to be done then. So that was the starting point of my journey.
Right. So, it obviously the trigger was something out of your personal space. You like you mentioned, you were spoiled for choice. So, what really was the trigger? Take us through that journey when you decided that this is what I would like to do, and this is where I see myself start this venture.
So the trigger to the organic world started around 2017. Once I moved back to Bangalore, as you know, I was really spoiled for choice in the US. And coming back to Bangalore, I know I was part of communities that wanted to be healthy, communities that were working out, living a healthy lifestyle, but also wanted to consume healthy. There were not a lot of choices here, and it was that trigger to say, hey, well, we should certainly be looking at setting up a platform in the city of Bangalore, and hopefully going out to a much larger market. Now, when we looked at the best possible platform out there, we realized, well, you could set up something online, you could set up something offline. We chose to go offline. We believed it was a lot more easy accessible to people. It was much more easier to be part of a community and also provide better choices when it came to, when people did their daily shopping and daily consumption and walking into a grocery store. So it was the best platform for us to start out with. And we started out in 2017 with our first store in the south of Bangalore. And since then, it's only been an upward journey. At this point, we're about at 16 stores.
At 16 stores, which brings me to my next question, Gaurav. When it comes to the organic space, we see tons of those options in today's time. And if we just look around us, I think even our audience would agree that there's not just one, but multiple options at the tip of our fingers when it comes to organic food and just different organic products around us. But when it comes to the organic world, you are the largest, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are the largest retailer when it comes to the organic e-commerce space and e-retail space. What has been the response like in a country like ours, in India? And I'm also curious to know what has been the consumer behavior, consumerism. Have they accepted it really well over the years? What have you seen really, the trends, etc.?
So the journey has been a wonderful one for us. It's only been an upward trend for us. Starting in 2017 with our first pilot store, it was certainly at the early stages of the market. We were answering questions around, what is organic? What does it mean to live an organic lifestyle? What does it mean to live a much more sustainable lifestyle? So at the early stages of our journey, it is very much about educating and bringing awareness to what is organic. So from just an organic lifestyle, we also stepped up our variety of the offerings that we had within our stores to make sure that people, not only had organic fruits and vegetables, but they had better choices overall. This was better choices in their daily consumptions of their daily staples or daily F&V. Also to the extent of what toothbrush and toothpaste they use, what kind of creams that they use on their skin. So it was a much more holistic lifestyle. And it was that lifestyle that we wanted to bring. And that's where we've kind of evolved through our journey. When we look at the consumers themselves have also evolved through the process. We don't see anymore that we have to truly explain what the organic lifestyle is, what is a sustainable lifestyle. Now, at this stage, we have many consumers coming to the store already with a very clear plan of what they want to consume and what they want to provide to their families. So we've certainly seen an evolution of the consumer. There is a lot more awareness. And when we look at communities now, there are communities of conscious consumers. Now, what I mean by conscious consumers is that these consumers do want to live healthy, do want to live a sustainable lifestyle, and do want to provide for better choices for their children and for their families.
So you do see a trend, an emerging trend, or rather a changing trend in the way people are consuming, and they are in fact becoming more conscious of their choices. Is that what you're going to say?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly people have become a lot more conscious, a lot more aware, and also a lot more careful, I'd say. I think it comes down to the fact that people have started to realize the compromises that they're making in their daily consumption, compromises in terms of the chemicals that they consume on a daily basis. So I mean, very simply put, there's certain choices that people can make and certain actions that they can take to improve their lifestyle. When you look at the air, for example, I mean, there's only a limited amount of action an individual can take to make the air better and breathe in better air. But when it comes to the food that they eat, it's a very individual choice for people to consume better, to pick and choose what is healthy for them, and to consume in a much more mindful manner. So people have certainly become a lot more aware, certainly a lot more, I think, educated in terms of what they want to eat, what they want to consume, and what they want to provide for their families.
Right. Gaurav, just to understand this space a little bit more, is also when you started off in 2017,
right,
and we're in 2023 now, and just in the last few years, that's about, I think, 6 years
yes.
or so, 6 years, what have been some of the challenges that you've observed when you entered this space? And how have you been able to address those challenges
Sure.
And concerns? And what gap is it exactly that you're trying to bridge?
Sure. Sure. So as an organic retailer, as a responsible retailer, the core principles that we're based on is affordability, accessibility, and authenticity. And this all leads back to the challenges that consumers are facing in the ecosystem and the challenges that people are facing in general, whether it's a farming community or whether it's a consuming community. Now, these three principles, starting with authenticity, consumers were truly concerned about what they were buying as organic. Is it truly organic? So trust was a big element into this. To say, do I trust what I see on my table? Do I trust what I'm buying at the stores? Is it truly organic? So that is something that we want to tackle immediately to say, hey, what we're buying is from a trusted network. These are certified product. This is the checks and the lab tests that go behind all the work to identify it truly is organic, that we grow truly organic products and produce, and we bring it to the stores. So that is the authenticity bit of it. The other elements was affordability. Now, affordability is a big challenge. There is an assumption, and there's also a presumption of premiumness to organic products. Typically, at this stage in the market of this sort of maturity, organic produces about 1.3x of normal produce. Now, we're trying really hard to make sure that we can keep bringing down prices. Of course, there's always going to be a premium in the market because higher quality inputs go into making organic produce. There's a lot more care that goes into bringing out organic produce and bringing it into the stores. So there's a certain amount of price premium that will always be associated with organic products and better for you products. But there's some elements that we're truly trying to work on, such as, reducing inefficiencies, bringing in scale into our operations, bringing in scale into the organic market, and organizing the organic market in the community to make sure we can bring down the prices and make it a lot more accessible and affordable to consumers. The last core principle is around accessibility, making sure that there is a market that's accessible to the farming community to create the market linkage between the farming community and the consumer, and also accessibility to the consuming community to make sure that they have access to high quality produce, to truly authentic and affordable organic produce and better for you produce. And it is these issues and challenges that we are able to tackle through the core principles that we run our company.
So, authenticity, accessibility, and affordability.
That's
These
right.
are the three core principles that Gaurav Manchanda and the organic world really stick by. I also then, since you mentioned prices, I
Yes.
would have to ask you then, and this has been a question on my mind as well, and I'm sure a lot of consumers, is it a myth? Is it a myth, or is it true, or is it right that organic products in India, or just generally organic products, are expensive, and which is why people then just turn their heads around? They don't want to open up to the idea of choosing organic products for maybe 100, 200 rupees more, or is it just a myth? Is it, if you would want to like bust this myth for us?
No, I certainly would like to bust a myth to say that there's a premium just for the sake of having a premium. I think that's false, and I don't think there's a premium because there's a smaller market or because we'd like to charge more for the products. There is a slight premium for the quality of the inputs that go into the products. And it is this quality that actually provides the benefit to what it goes into making truly organic product that is truly a sustainable, environmentally friendly product. Now, you must note and remember, that India was in the past an organic growing nation. We come from organic practices of growing our fruits and vegetables, but it's only in the last, I'd say, many decades that we started a kind of push the limits on production, push the limits of harvesting, and I think that is something that's not very sustainable. We, as organic producers and organic retailers, certainly want to take a much more sustainable fashion. And for that sustainability, there's an element of quality that goes in. And for that quality, there's an element of premiumness. Now, given there's a certain amount of there's a bit of premiumness to the inefficiencies that exist in the market, but we see that over time and organization of the market, that premiumness will certainly come down, and it is at the better prices that we want to certainly provide to our consumers. Given that consumers also have the choice of convention fruits and vegetables and staples and food items at a much lower cost, but it is to be noted that it also comes at a cost of environment. It also comes at a cost of long-term health. So this is a choice that has been provided to consumers. Bringing down the prices of better for you products and organic products is something that we're all working very hard towards, to provide better choices to not only the farming community to farm better, but also the consuming community to consume better.
Indian organic food market is expected to touch, or in fact, the news reports suggest, has touched USD 1,200 million. And in 2022 alone, which is just last year, where do we stand, in your opinion and in your analysis? Where do we stand as a country, and what have been some of your observations looking at this market when it comes to the organic space? Where does India really position itself globally?
Sure. So having been in this space for about 6-7 years now, it's been only positive. I mean, it is an upward trajectory. It is a growing trend, which is one of the reasons why we're growing our stores on such a frequent interval as well. Now, when we look at the Indian market, which is at about 1,200 million, it is growing at about 25% per year, CAGR every year. Now, when we look at by 2026, we should be at about 400 million. 4 billion, right? So we're certainly growing at a much faster pace when we look at the global market.
Just the Indian market?
Just the Indian market. Now, when we look at the global market at this point in time is about a $200 million market, $200 billion market. But when we look at it from a 10-year perspective, it will be about 500 billion. So it'll be half a trillion essentially. And when we look at the growth from a year-to-year basis, it is roughly growing at about 13%. So the Indian market is certainly growing at a much faster pace, and it continues to grow at a much faster pace. And we're seeing that absorption in the consumption market in India, more so in Bangalore, because that's where most of our stores are. And we look to not only expand across Bangalore, but also South India and in the national market.
All right. So, and in the, let's say, and I also to kind of rewind to the question that I asked earlier, when it came to the trends, what are some of, like, let's say 2 to 3 trends that you've seen drastically change pre-COVID, post-COVID, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic in terms of choices? Because we all know during 2020, the entire world went into a lockdown, but the entire world also tried to get healthy. But has that changed post pandemic? And in terms of what they're buying online, has that affected?
Sure. I think as people come out of the have come out of the pandemic, with their own personal stories of some of the hardships and the issues that they've faced with health crises and issues just within the community. There is certainly a lot more focus and a lot more want to be mindful about their consumption and what they want to, how they want to have an impact on the environment. It's all interconnected, it's all interrelated when it comes to community, and it's this element of sustainability that people have started to be more mindful about. And they've realized that one of the low hanging fruits when it comes to consumption is actually what they consume at home, what they consume for their families. So hence, they've been looking a lot more carefully at what they're eating from their fruits and vegetables and their daily consumption, their daily habits. So yes, health has been a key element of what people have been focused on, whether it's what they're eating, but also what they're working out. We are seeing that people are also now spending, excuse me, a lot more time at home because there's also a lot more options to work from home at this point in time. So people have the ability to focus on what they're consuming on a daily basis at home as well. So that is one of the key trends that we're seeing within the industry and within the market.
Gaurav, one thing is to be called a retailer, and one thing is to be a responsible retailer. And that is what I mentioned when I was introducing you in the very start of this podcast, that being a responsible retailer is of key importance and is so important and significant in today's time and age. And businesses today globally, companies are taking sustainability pledges, and companies and MNCs are taking oath that they will be sustainable going forward. So, and you are a responsible retailer yourself. So tell us, who is a responsible retailer? Why should one be? And what is the hack to be
Sure.
one? Or if there is any hack to be one?
Sure. And I'm glad you brought this up, Sonakshi, because being a responsible retailer is something that, is important to us. And we do certainly want to call ourselves out as a retailer, as a responsible retailer, because we do want to nudge the industry forward towards being a lot more responsible to their consumers and being a lot more responsible to the environment. Now, what does it mean to be a responsible retailer? From our perspective, is to certainly first provide better choices to consumers, to be able to give them a lot more better choices to choose from, to pick from. And there's also a bit of responsibility on us to be very transparent in terms of the offerings that we provide to the consumers, transparent in how authentic our products are, from where we get it, from what the traceability to which farm their produce comes from, into truly what chemicals go into their food. Now, talking about chemicals, for example, we have 25 chemicals that are completely banned from our shelves, and these chemicals are typically found in most retailers, right? We believe that these chemicals are bad for sustained consumption, and it does have a detrimental impact on the health. Now, these chemicals could be as simple as high fructose corn syrup that is typically found in most sodas and beverages. We don't have that on our shelves. It could be as simple as artificial colors and flavors. We don't have these on our shelves. We also have a list of chemicals that we don't allow with our personal care products, of creams and lotions that we put on our bodies. For example, we don't have sulfates and phthalates that typically go in some of these products that we don't have on our shelves. Now, we believe that we've made an active choice of not allowing certain things on our shelves to provide better choices to consumers and to also nudge consumers towards consuming better. Now, when we don't have a harmful product on our shelves, it makes it somewhat easier for consumers to pick a better choice. So we'd like to position ourselves to say, hey, we are providing better choices. We are being responsible in terms of our offerings to our consumers and in terms of the transparency with our consumers. And it's with that element of responsibility and that element of transparency that we believe that, we are nudging the industry towards being a little more responsible.
And is there a hack to be a responsible retailer?
I don't think there's a simple hack. I don't think it's a simple hack, but I certainly think there's a lot of effort that goes in it. It's been a journey for us ourselves in terms of what consumers are responding to and what is truly a good choice, not only for the consumers, but what is also sustainable for a retailer and what's sustainable for the environment as well. We certainly do want to expand our business. We certainly do want to be present across India. We do want to present a better choice to consumers, and we have to be a sustainable model as we go along as well. So it is certainly hard work that goes into it. A lot of work in terms of analyzing what's there in the market and what we can present to consumers, and what consumers are also comfortable with finally consuming as well. So I think a lot of work in it. That's a short message, and I think it's going to be a long journey for everyone that's
Well,
involved.
so clearly it's not easy to be sustainable and responsible. It takes a lot of hard work and maybe a whole village to kind of have that
A whole community.
a whole community to run a company that pledges to be responsible and sustainable. Which brings me to my next question, and a very important one, because how do you source your products? Because all of it is organic on your website. How do you source them? What is the vetting process really?
Sure.
Take us through step one to the end process.
Sure. So our organic produce is largely the fruits and vegetables that are on our shelves. The organic produce that we have is selected and sourced from a network of farmers that we have under our banner called the Happy Harvest Farms. Now, as part of Happy Harvest Farms, anyone that's part of that network, we work very closely with the farmers. We work closely with the farmers with identifying the inputs that go into production, the certification process, and also the lab tests that go into the certification process to certify that the product is truly organic. Likewise, the farmers that are part of our network, we also have education programs and education classes that go along with truly what does it mean to be organic, and what are the benefits of being organic. And also sometimes the larger investments of putting in high quality inputs, the benefits that it brings from an economic standpoint at the end of the process of harvest and then post harvest process, and then working with the retailer. So we kind of handhold them through the process of through starting through the education process, what goes into the soil, and then finally what comes out to be sent over to the retailers.
So now that we've discussed the vetting process and we've understood, now say I am somebody who runs an organic company and I want to get my product on your website.
Sure.
At what point do you say yes, we can have you on board, and at what point do you say no, that sorry, we can't display this on our website?
Sure. So we have actually a very transparent, simple process for having your products on our shelves. Of course, I mean, if you're a new company, a new product, that is very much believers and I'd say pioneers when it comes to sustainable food, healthier food, better for you foods, we'd love to partner with you and bring you on the shelves. So we have a very transparent process where it's a simple check. It's a simple checklist of what are the ingredients that go into your product. If you don't have those 25 chemicals that we talked about in the earlier, if you don't have those 25 chemicals, by all means, it certainly is ready to be listed on our shelves. So it's as simple as that. If you don't have those 25 chemicals, we're all good to list on our shelves. So
it's just those 25 chemicals test that one has to pass.
Yes.
And if they don't have those, if as a company I don't, then I can be part of the organic world on the website. Gaurav, what is the future of the organic market in India? Very important to ask this because, like I mentioned earlier, so much happening in this space. At the cost of even saying that a lot of it is false and pretentious, and in the banner, in the name of organic, a lot of wrong things are happening. So what really is the future of organic market in India?
So I think I certainly think that the organic market is very bright. I mean, we're seeing that with the consumption patterns, right? I mean, our stores are healthy, they're doing well, we continue to grow. We are not only now building our own stores, but we're also building our franchisee stores. I mean, we're working with franchisee owners and kind of getting down the franchisee path as well. So there's certainly a need from the market from a pull perspective, right? Now, when we look at the organic market and just, the healthy lifestyle, it's not a trend. I think, people perceive it to be a trend, but it's certainly not a trend. It's a way of life. It's a lifestyle choice that people are making. And this is certainly we see that more consumers are going down that path of choosing to be healthy, choosing a healthier lifestyle. So it's not a trend anymore. It's not a cool to have organic consumption. People are choosing more to eat healthy and to choose organic. Now, when we look at the market numbers per se, the numbers themselves are growing pretty fast. It's growing faster than conventional fruits and vegetables. It's growing faster than the conventional food market. The healthy market is certainly in an upward trend, given that it's small at this stage, but it's certainly the Indian market is pretty vast and pretty large, and we'll continue to see it growing at a much faster clip than you see the regular conventional market. So all the numbers and all the stars and all the factors are all aligning. It's all coming together right now. It's a lot more organized right now. And with the organization of the market, we're seeing that even the consumers have more choices to choose from. And our consumers are a lot more conscious in what they're consuming. So it's a very positive market. We're seeing it only an upward trend, and we're excited to be part of this market.
What makes the organic world a class apart and different from its competition?
I think simply that we're calling ourselves out to be the leading responsible retailers in India, because these are very active choices that we made in terms of banning certain chemicals from from our shelves, and we believe we're the first in the Indian market to do so. So hopefully, we'd like to believe that we're pioneers with a purpose, and it's with the purpose of providing better choices. It's with the purpose of providing healthier choices of families and communities, and is to also provide a much more sustained lifestyle for the larger market. So it is this element of being a responsible retailer.
And pioneers with a purpose. I like the sound of that. Gaurav, when it comes to the organic world and the number of stores that you've opened, give us some numbers, share some numbers with us. How many stores, how many customers served, and how many companies with you associated and brands associated with
Sure.
you? Just take us through some of those numbers.
Sure. So it's been a wonderful journey as we've gone along from 2017 to the current day. Of course, right now we're at 16 stores. We have 4 of them that are franchisee owned, and now we're pursuing a much more franchisee, I'd say, focused path as we go along, because we're, I think, excited to see the reception in the market. Many more people are reaching out to us to say, hey, how do we set up franchisees not only within the city but also in their towns, and so we're looking to expand into second tier and third tier city. So it's an exciting future for us as we go along. Now, when we look at the brands that we're working with, we typically work with brands that align with our vision and our mission in terms of having a much more mindful product of what they offer to consumers, and also a much more sustainable product. So the number of brands that we work with, we have about 200 brands that we work with. And in terms of the number of SKUs and the number of products we have typically about 3,000 products on our shelves. So it's a large variety of products, better for you products that are available on our shelves. And the number of brands that we work with keep increasing on a day-to-day basis. So this is a much more positive sign that we see within the market, that we see a lot more companies, a lot more startups, a lot more entrepreneurs getting into this space, that they're able to provide much more healthier options for the consumers at large and for the Indian market. All positive signs. Now, when we look at the shopping habits within the consumers, of course, over the journey of our stores as we expand, we've certainly we've catered to about lakhs of consumers, right? So we have a large consumer base that we typically work with right now, and typically they shop with us. One thing that's truly stood out is the loyalty of the consumers. Now, from an industry standpoint, 60% of our consumers come back to us, which is a heartening metric for us in terms of loyalty from a month-to-month perspective, right? So it's a large number of loyal customers that we have that keep us going on a consistent basis. Now, when we look at the shopping basket, we see over the months that we have a very healthy average basket value. When we look at the larger industry at large, that we see that more and more consumers are actually shopping their complete shopping basket within our stores. So this is not only a testament to the format of the organic world, but also a testament to what consumers want to consume, and to increase, going past their shopping habits of first taking organic fruits and vegetables, to then next, organic staples, the next to, healthier, dairy products, bakery products, and then snacking habits. So we're seeing that extension happens based on the basket size that they shop with us. So it's all positive in terms of the metrics, very much in line with what you're seeing as a much larger perspective of the organic market. And it just continues to grow month on month and year on year for us.
My last couple of questions, Gaurav. You recently attended the BIOFACH 15th edition in Delhi, and I'd like to understand and learn from you, what were your thoughts on that? What were some of your key takeaways from BIOFACH 15th edition and a platform like that?
Sure. So it was wonderful to be part of BIOFACH 15, and I'd say it was a class apart. It certainly is a gold standard in terms of how events are run. It certainly is. It sets a new standard for events such as BIOFACH in India, for other conferences and other meets, industry meets to occur. Now, what I thought was really wonderful about the event was it was a confluence of industry leaders. It was a confluence of market movers and shakers, and also the new entrants in the market. So it wasn't focused on just one element, but it was focused on bringing in everyone and all the stakeholders together. I saw private players. I saw the government involved. I saw many new startups that are involved, many established companies. So it was certainly a confluence of many of these stakeholders that made it possible to work together in a much more collaborative manner, to see how the market can move ahead. So it was certainly a class apart, and I think much needed. We are already looking forward to the next year's edition, and looking forward to also participating in the international editions as well.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. And we can't let you go away before me asking you this question. I'm sure you consume a lot of organic products yourself, and you've made that choice. How has this really personally benefited you in your everyday life, these choices that you've made? Let's just ask you this question.
So I think that's a great question, Shanakshi. Now, for me, on a personal front, of course, I feel healthier and better, and I think it helps me operate at a much better level, right? But it also, it gives me satisfaction to say I'm providing better for my family and also for my children, to make sure that they're eating healthy and they're eating in a sustainable fashion. When we talk about it from a much more community-based perspective, I think it gives me validation to say, what we're providing the community is certainly better choices to the community so they can consume better. And also from an environment perspective, right? I think from an environment perspective, I believe that my impact on my consumption is reduced, is certainly, is lesser on the environment, because this is not, a one-time consumption, but this is a sustained consumption over not just a few years, but over a lifetime. So just consumption over a lifetime and the impact that it has on the environment, it gives me satisfaction, and it gives me, belief that, the environmental impact is much lesser for me and my family. So I think just having made better choices, I think makes me feel better.
Makes you feel better. And a message for somebody who'd like to make these choices and wants to make this switch, what would you like to tell them?
Certainly, just be more mindful about your consumption, more mindful about your impact on the environment, and also on your life.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. That was Mr. Gaurav Manchanda, the founder and director of The Organic World. It is India's largest e-commerce space and retailer when it comes to all things organic products. And if you are somebody who wants to make that switch, I would highly recommend that you take a look at The Organic World. But it has been a pleasure to speak with you, Gaurav, on this podcast, to speak to us about all things organic, the future of the organic market, not just in India, but globally, India's position globally when it comes to the organic space, and more importantly, about how the organic world are the pioneers with a purpose. I really like the sound of it. Thank you so much, Gaurav, and looking forward to your association with us at BioFarm. Thanks very much once again.
Thank you, Sonakshi, for having me, and thank you for the spotlight on the organic market. Thank you.
Thank you.